How good is this North Central team? Well, they just beat Illinois Wesleyan by 55 points, the largest margin of victory in the history of the matchup for NCC. We'll talk to head coach Jeff Thorne, center Jarod Thornton, and linebacker Sam Taviani to break it all down. And the Cardinals made it to Sports Center. That's the focus of this week's Cardinal Corner. All that and more next on the Red Zone.
The presenting sponsor of the Red Zone is Athletico, the preferred provider of physical therapy and athletic training for North Central College.
Welcome into the Red Zone, and head coach of the football team, Jeff Thorne. Largest margin of victory over Illinois Wesleyan in the history of the matchup for you guys. Yeah. This is not a bad Wesleyan team by any stretch. You guys simply out-executed, and that was, I've said this 2 or 3 times this year, the most complete game of football that I've seen you guys play. Yeah,
we did play very, very well. I think Wesleyan made some uncharacteristic mistakes, but they are a good team. They're very talented. They were ranked 15th in the country to start the season, and lost a heartbreaker in their opener to Wisconsin lacrosse in overtime. They had close to 600 yards of offense in that game. Lacrosse is a very, very well-respected program nationally right now, so we know they're a very good team. They hung right with Wheaton. We played really, really well, and some things went our way, and the score was what it was. Our starters were done with 9 minutes left in the third quarter, and very, very happy with how our guys played.
So we talked last week, and we talked to the players too, about trying to put together that 4-quarter mentality after a few weeks of being able to sit out after halftime. Yeah, you didn't get that in this game, which I'm sure maybe is a little, you don't want to say disappointing because the outcome is the way it is. But obviously you put yourself in a position where you could put the backups in, and that's because the offense was humming. Brock Rutter, 6 touchdowns for a second consecutive week.
In the first half.
2
weeks in a row, yeah.
I mean, there's not enough superlatives in the world to describe the level of play that he is currently achieving, is there?
He and Andrew Kamienski, he and Ethan Greenfield, Blake Williams has had a great year. But, man, none of it would be possible without the guys in front of them. And they're, since that Wheaton game, we had some struggles in the Wheaton game. They've been tremendous. And we did that without Ricky Sturba at right guard. Jake Fiedler stepped in, and during the week, Nate Gray suffered an injury who was going to start. And Jake, we kind of tease Jake and call him our Swiss Army knife because he's played so many different spots, and he's just got an incredible attitude, always willing to do whatever we need him to do. And he stepped in and did a great job at right guard for us.
We talked about this last week about how Wesleyan has a pretty fearsome defensive front. They had 30 sacks coming in. Did they have a sack against Brock? I don't think they did.
They didn't.
I mean, so kind of a testament to just how strong that offensive line play was.
Did a great job. Ran the ball effectively and protected Brock. Brock got out a couple times, stepped up, and had some long runs that were fun to watch. But yeah, they've been, like I said, they've been tremendous since the Wheaton game, and you can ride your offensive line for a long, long ways in playoff football too, provided we get that opportunity if we take care of business on Saturday.
We talked about this a few years ago. It was another Brock Rutter scramble where he was carrying the ball and he was just kind of bouncing. He did that a little bit on that first run, and during the call, I even said, "You got to tuck that away." It's 60 yards. He finished with 94, and talking to him after the game, he goes, "Oh man, I wish I would have known that. I would have just left the pocket for another 6 yards
for a 100-yard day." Yeah.
Is that just an underutilized part of his game that he brings to the table, that he's able to run like a gazelle down the field?
No, I think he's not a guy you want to design quarterback runs for. I don't think his body's made for that from a physicality standpoint, but he's an effective runner when he needs to run. And those were 2 cases where he took advantage of coverage, vacating zones, and really getting a lot of depth, and he saw the green grass and took off. And he did it last year. I can't remember what game it was, but he had a long touchdown run. It might have even been our Hanover game, the playoff game.
Yeah, it might have been.
But we've seen him do that a few times, and he's an effective runner. Not somebody you want to design the runs for, but when he needs to, he does a great job with it.
I don't know if he'll like the fact that you just said he wasn't capable, because he called himself Brock Vic after the game. He might take offense to that. But Andrew Kamienski, I mean, again, this is another guy that we keep talking about now. 18 touchdowns in 9 games, 4 in the first half. There was one instance where Illinois Wesleyan rolled the coverage pre-snap, Brock literally just looked at Andrew, and I think at that point they knew they had themselves a 55-yard touchdown. The chemistry we've talked about, but just the production is otherworldly. Have you ever seen a duo put together these numbers in this short amount of time this season?
I think the answer to that lies in our school and conference record book, and the answer is no. We haven't seen anything like it. Brock has broken records that have stood since 1983.
Yeah.
And what's really unique about it is he's broken all of the conference records for passing touchdowns, completions, yards, but he's done it on a smaller number of attempts, which is pretty telling. Andrew has done what he's done, and he still has another season left.
Yeah.
So it's really remarkable what the two of them have been able to accomplish together. And again, you can't just single out the two of them.
Right.
It's happened because we have a great running game, because of our offensive linemen and Ethan and our other running backs and the other receivers that force defenses to account for them as well.
Yeah.
It's been a really fun year on both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
We're talking a lot about offense. Our defense has done some great things, and they're doing it collectively. We don't have any one guy with astronomical sacks.
Yep.
It's a unit.
Yeah.
It's a defensive unit that's playing at a really high level together. I think we're 7th nationally in total defense. We're 8th in scoring defense, or it might be the other way around. But we're a top 10 defense nationally, and our offense is garnering all the headlines because they're number 1 in scoring and number 1 in total. But our defense is playing really good football too.
So the defense came out, and Illinois Wesleyan put you guys on your heels right off the bat. They marched down the field, but then it was that bend, don't break mentality. You got out of there without points, and I feel like that set the tone for the rest of the game defensively.
Yeah, we were a little bit lacking focus, I think, especially on third down on that first drive. We gave up 2 or 3 third down conversions. But then, like you said, we bent, but we didn't break. They missed the field goal, and that was our offense. We've gone 9 for 9 now, scoring on our first drive, so it's kind of an exciting stat. Went ahead and took the ball down the field and got points, got a stop, got points again, and then the kind of surprise onside kick deal we pulled off, got 3 more. And then they're in a position now where they're a little bit more one-dimensional than they'd want to be even in the first quarter at a 17-0 point differential.
We'll break down the tape next. Check the Tape is coming your way. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is brought to you by Arena Americas, specialists in providing full-service rental solutions for events and special occasions of all sizes.
Now it's time to check the tape. And, Coach, the first play I want to get to, a defensive play. We talked about the offense so much in the first segment. Tommy Highland is a guy that's been banged up all year, was recognized before the season as a main contributor to this defense. And it's really nice to see him getting after the quarterback. Him and Dan Gilroy, who, again, we've talked about at length. Yeah. But seeing them converge and, like you always say, meet at the quarterback.
Right. Yeah, getting Tommy back and getting him healthy is going to be really important for us going forward. He's extremely talented. He's long, he's strong, he can run, and he's just been battling a myriad of injuries all season long. So it was great to see him play the way he did on Saturday and get through the game, and he's feeling good. So excited about being in week 10 now, or game 10, week 11, and having Tommy feeling a little bit better, because if we can get him hot into the playoff run, it'll be really exciting for us.
That was awesome. Offensively, we're going to talk about in this episode the Andrew Kamienski top 10 Sports Center play enough, but I want to focus on a different play, and this is right up against the goal line. And honestly, just your thoughts on how this play developed, because it seemed a little bit broken off the top.
You know, one of the things that goes often unsaid with Brock is his ability to move in the pocket, just subtle movements that you work on in practice. There's things that you want to drill down and make sure that it's second nature to him. But then there's just also that natural feeling of where the rush is and that ability to keep your eyes downfield. He's been fantastic with that from the day he came to us. But that's all about the quarterback moving and feeling the pocket and then drawing the defense as he steps up and having the awareness to find Drew for that just little kind of little basketball shot
I was
almost
just gonna
it
say,
was.
like an alley-oop.
Yeah, yep.
Third play I want to get to, it's very similar to the first one, but a different combination of guys. We've talked a little bit about Tyler Rich, but he comes around here, stays persistent, and winds up forcing a play.
Yeah, he forced the quarterback's hand. He steps up. Isaiah gets a piece of the arm and knocks it free. And with 26.4 seconds, we get the ball back at our 40. And we like to try to do what we can with the ball. We had a timeout, and Brock made a great throw to Drew to get us about 35 yards right away on that first down, and killed the clock.
Yep.
and took one shot unsuccessfully. The second one, the rest is history with that one. That was an incredible play by Drew. Great throw by Brock to give him a chance. Kind of had to throw it off his back foot.
Yep.
But what a catch. Sports Center top 10 is pretty exciting. Second time in our history that's happened.
Really? What was the
Sorenson,
first?
Pete Sorenson back in 2013 had an incredible diving catch in the snow against Mount Union at the 1 yard line.
Right.
Yeah, and that was on too.
Kept the feet in bounds.
Yep.
I remember that.
Yep.
Wow, I forgot that made the Sports Center top 10.
Yeah.
It's pretty special. I want to get to this next game because Millikin, up until this past week, I was thinking that this was going to be maybe a little lopsided, and then they showed up against Wash U. They took this team to overtime and won.
Yeah, Coach Gritty's done a great job there. This is his third year, and right away, year one, they went 7-3. Last year, they finished 6-4, but their quarterback was hurt for a large stretch of the season. And the quarterback that replaced him in that spell has improved dramatically. Cal Port, number 14, is playing at a really high level. They've got 3 or 4 actually really good receivers, but 2 that are really long and can run. So they pose a lot of issues on offense. Their offensive line is enormous, so they don't give up a lot of sacks. And defensively, they're active. A lot of really, really talented athletes on that side of the ball for them. They play hard, and they're very, very good on their home field. So we have our work cut out for us on Saturday.
We're going to put you in control of a concert for your quick hit.
Okay, all right.
You're putting together a concert. You get to pick the headliner. Who is headlining Jeff Thorne's concert?
That's an easy one. It's Casting Crowns.
All right, haven't heard of them.
Christian band.
Okay.
Mark Hall, wildly talented guy. Got to see him in concert just a few months ago, and just a wildly talented artist across the board. They're doing their concert, and he's drawing a picture of Jesus upside down with 2 hands.
Yeah.
It was absolutely fascinating. So he'd be the headliner. For King and Country would probably be second. They're an Irish Christian band, and
cool.
I would want them to stop singing long enough for them to speak, because there's nothing I like more than the heavy Irish accent. I love listening to that. But those 2 would headline my show.
That's awesome. Do you guys listen to that pregame? Do you listen to music pregame at all?
Everything I listen to is K-Love and Christian music. So yeah, I do. But that's what I'm listening to.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, thanks for swinging by, and good luck against Millikin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Coming up next, we'll have a couple of guys joining me on set. We'll be right back for the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is brought to you by Jimmy John's.
Really no surprise here. Andrew Kamienski's catch was the 6th best in the country on Saturday. Of course he's our top play. The junior catches his 4th touchdown of the first half, 18th on the season. That's why he grabs the Red Zone's play of the game.
And we're back on the Red Zone. Sam Taviani, Jarod Thornton on the show. And guys, a couple of young guys, first time on the show. You guys have been thrusted into the starting lineup, and we'll start on the defensive side. Very veteran-laden linebacker core. You got Storm, you've got Ben, you've got Brian. And then you kind of come in as a sophomore. You're kind of playing nickelback. You're kind of playing that linebacking core too. What has that transition been like, and how have those guys kind of helped you acclimate to that unit?
I give a lot of credit to those older linebackers. In practice, whenever I need a question, I'll just ask them, and I get an answer right away.
Yeah.
They've helped me push myself in practice to really my full potential and just keep pushing me.
They are extremely athletic. They're also brainiacs. Does it help that they're so smart and so knowledgeable about what's going on the field and even off the field?
Oh yeah, that makes me feel confident asking them a question because of how well they do in school.
Yeah.
I know that they're going to be right.
You could ask them anything, even like just about life. I feel like they would have the answer. Like maybe I should go to them and ask them some life advice too. Like they're just that knowledgeable.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Offensive line, you said that some of the leaders on that unit, Ricky Sturba, fifth-year guy. Colton is a pretty fiery guy. Sharmore is obviously All-American. He's got the pedigree. How fun is it getting used to playing along with these guys who have been around this program for a number of years?
I mean, it was really fun with that group of guys. I mean, they help you. I mean, they helped me a lot, me being a freshman center. Like, they helped me with everything. And it's like fun being at practice with them every day because, like, they're a fun group of guys to be around. Like, I always talk to them, and it's just nice to be around them.
So the first time we talked, you mentioned how when you came here and you visited and you met with some of the guys that were already here, that sold you on the North Central program. Obviously, it's paying off dividends. You're starting as a freshman. But how much have you enjoyed that experience coming straight in and playing right away and getting maybe to contribute to a team that now has national title implications in your first year?
I mean, it was fun, but it was, like, challenging, hard at first. Like, being a center, like, you got to make every call, and that resonates to the entire O-line, quarterback, running back. Yeah. So it was tough at first, but now, like, me being into it, like, from the transition from high school to college, like, it's fun now, especially when you got, like, guys like Ricky next to you. Like, that can help you out if you don't know something. Sharmore, Colton at tackle, Brock at running back, Ethan at running back. I mean, Brock at quarterback, Ethan at running back.
No, hey, after 94 yards rushing, we can call him a running back this past week.
I mean, they just helped me out a lot, which made me comfortable with everything. And it's just fun being out there, contributing, and being a part of this team.
So on offense, I feel like you guys have had these main contributors for the full year. There hasn't been a lot of these interpositional battles. Now, but on the defensive side, you guys have been really competing and kind of grinding in practice, trying to figure out who's going to be on the field. Has that helped you maybe push each other as a unit to try and strive for being better now at the end of the year?
Oh, yeah, definitely, because if you don't do your job or you mess up in practice, there's somebody right behind you that's working just as hard or maybe just as good. So you always have to be on top of your game and always working and doing your best.
So who's technically your positional coach? Is it Shane or is it Sinclair?
Coach Sinclair.
So it is
actually Coach Suds too.
Okay, interesting. Yes. How's it been working with those guys? Because obviously Sinclair brings this cool NFL background to the picture.
Oh yeah, I love working with them. They're always high energy in practice, and they really give me good teaching tips every day in practice, and they're just fun to be around.
It's impressive, and I'm sure you noticed this too, Jarod. The defensive coaches, it doesn't matter what time of day it is, it doesn't matter how cold, how hot it is, they have more energy than I have in the entire week. How much does that help you when you're going through a 2.5-hour practice?
A lot. These last practices have been cold. We got lucky yesterday, we were inside, but some of them have been really cold, and they're always jumping around and have so much enthusiasm, and it helps practice go by.
Now I know you have Coach Studeman, and you also have Coach Janicek kind of barking in your ear.
Yeah.
How much help is that kind of having two very different voices? I feel like Coach Studeman is more of a quiet and passionate guy, and then Coach Janicek is so intense.
Yeah, Coach Studeman, like, he keeps us level. He's passionate about what he do, like you said, so he gets us, like, we're ready. He gets us prepared for everything, for every practice, every game. And Coach Janicek, he's that motivator, always in your ear yelling and pumped up all the time. He gets me pumped up every day practice.
I'm ready to run through a wall when I hear him talk.
It's always fun. It's always fun listening to things he got to say to get us hyped up in the weight room. After halftime, before the game, anything is always fun.
Guys, you ready for the quick hits?
Yep.
All right. Jarod, we'll start with you. You're planning a concert. Who's your headliner?
Meek Mill.
All right. What about him?
He's a rapper from Philadelphia. I mean, like, I really like his music.
Yeah.
Because I can relate to it a lot. And it's just like he's passionate, and he got a lot of good songs.
See on the pregame playlist?
Yeah. Every day.
Every day.
Every day playlist.
Sam, how about you?
I'm going with the Eagles. Old
Ooh,
school band.
wow.
Yeah.
Very different preferences here. So you like the Eagles?
Yeah.
They played a lot in my household growing up.
Yeah.
What's your favorite song?
Take It Easy.
All right. So you're a very laid back kind of guy.
When I want to be.
When you want to be. That's a good answer for a football player because you got to flip that switch.
Yeah.
Sam, we'll start with you for this next one. What was your first job?
It was a moving company.
Really?
Yes.
So you kind of got a workout in at work.
Yes.
So tell me a little bit about that experience.
It was actually my dad's moving company.
All right.
And I would work long days, and it'd be really hot out at times. So I'd pretty much be getting a workout just doing that.
Man, no wonder why you're a college football player. You had the training from a young age. Yeah. My goodness. Jarod, how about you?
My first job was in a barber shop. I used to just sweep up the hair from every client.
Yeah.
It was my local neighborhood where I grew up. So, I mean, it was like always a great environment to be in because you know everybody. Yeah. So I can sit in the barbershop all day. Those conversations are like legendary. It's fun being in there. So, yeah, that was my first job.
I'm guessing you got free haircuts?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Yeah.
Oh, come on. Employee discount? You can't get the free one? Oh, man.
As you get older, you got to start paying. But as a kid, yeah. Now that I'm older, no more free ones.
Jarod, last one. Weirdest thing you've ever seen made at Kaufman?
What was you saying? I recently seen somebody like dipping sweet potato fries in like syrup. That was probably the weirdest thing I've ever seen somebody do in Kaufman.
Syrup, like maple syrup?
Maple syrup, sweet potato fries. Weirdest thing I've ever seen in my life.
That's a combination that I'm not sure I want to try. Sam, how about you?
Seen ice cream and cereal.
That one makes a little bit more sense, but still a little funky.
Still a little weird.
Interesting. Well, guys, thank you so much for hopping on. Good luck against the Big Blue.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up next, we'll go to the Cardinal Corner. We'll be right back on the Red Zone.
This Red Zone segment is sponsored by Belgio's Catering.
By now, you've likely seen The Catch. You know, the one where all-world receiver Andrew Kamienski pulled a Houdini-esque snare to score into spot on SportsCenter's top 10. Yeah, that catch. But how did he get to the national level? Well, as Shakespeare once put it elegantly, it started with a tweet. Or something like that. Maybe that wasn't him. I digress. But that tweet, it took a lot of work.
The fact that it happened right before halftime enabled us to go in right away and get that clip out of the broadcast. And I essentially just downloaded it to my phone and cut it down to the exact length that I wanted it to be.
That sweet bird song ranked through the Twitterverse and found the waiting ears of an ESPN producer. He saw it, asked for it, got it, and, produced it.
Disney Plus streaming starting Tuesday. Division III football, North Central against Illinois Wesleyan. North Central's quarterback, Brock Rutter. That's a quarterback's name, Brock Rutter. Girls went deep to Andrew Kamienski. He comes down with it. North Central rolled by 55.
More angles were found, and those went viral too.
We had an alternate angle of that catch from our Instagram coverage during the game, from the back of the end zone. You're talking, 125,000 or so people looking at a single tweet from an account with a little over 5,300 followers. That's a home run right there.
And the rest is history. 24,000 views and almost 300 likes on Twitter, 1,800 views and 400 likes on Instagram. One could even say the Cardinals are chirping pretty loud these days.
Welcome into the Red Zone, and Cartusher joining me on set for the final segment, and a lot to get to. And last week we kind of kept it ambiguous. We didn't know what the fate of the soccer teams was going to be when we filmed this segment. Now we know, and they both lost heartbreaking games to Illinois Wesleyan.
Particularly on the men's side, losing in a penalty shootout like that, which, for some soccer purists, that's, kind of a sacrilege to end a game that way. But it's just kind of the way the playoffs work, and being, in that, you get into that environment enough times, that's going to happen. So, it was a very, closely contested game, not a lot of offense on either side. But if they had let them continue going, they might still be playing at this point.
No kidding.
But definitely shouldn't mitigate what they did during the season. Definitely a successful season all the way around. Ended up not resulting in the playoff berth that we thought they might get, but a lot to be thankful for, and a good place to start from beginning for next year.
And then as for the women's team, they had the really tall task of going to Illinois Wesleyan, and they really hung around in that game too. Yeah,
it was competitive right until the end. They had a few chances, but the ones they had were pretty good. But again, that's playoff. That's the playoffs for you. So. I think 3 all-conference selections earlier this week, and I think all of them are coming back for next year, so a lot to work with as they try to move up the ladder and move a little further into the postseason.
We'll talk about women's basketball next week because they open up at home this coming weekend, but men's basketball open up at home in a big way, hosting the number 2 team in the country, UW-Oshkosh. They got behind the 8 ball early. They never quite recovered, but that was a really entertaining game.
There's certain opportunities. Every time it seemed like they got on a run, Oshkosh would make a play to stop it, which is what good tournament teams do, and there aren't many better right now than them. Yeah. Certainly disappointing to start the season that way, but the reason they scheduled that game is because they want to be ready for that kind of atmosphere when the tournament happens, and you will see NCAA tournament games in March with less of a charged atmosphere than we saw Tuesday night. So definitely something that's going to help them down the road and prepare them for what they can expect to experience.
So let's move on to triathlon, speaking of postseasons, because here's the big event, the main event coming up this weekend.
Yeah, they've been away from competition for about 4 weeks, just really training and gearing up and getting ready for this thing. So I know they're ready to race. One of my staff members interviewed Coach Garrison for a preview earlier this week, and they talking about goals and things for the weekend, and she just kept saying, "Well, we want to win." So they've definitely got a single-minded focus heading into this weekend, and should be high contenders for both the team and individual national championships in Arizona.
It's pretty cool when the aspirations aren't moral victories or little things. It's to win. It's just to win the whole thing.
Well, and that's one of the reasons Jenny's the coach, is because that's the mindset and the attitude that she has, and it filters through the rest of the team. They have high expectations of themselves, and this is their chance to prove it.
I think it's probably about time that the men's cross-country team probably raised their expectations. I feel like they need to strive for more. Only 20-something national titles just isn't enough.
We're just not seeing any improvement at all out of that
no
group.
Improvement at all.
So, yeah, they've got the regionals this week up at Oshkosh. It's a course they've run on, many, many times throughout the year. So, definitely a familiar environment, familiar atmosphere. Defending champions in that event as well. So, that's clearly what they're looking to get done and get through healthy and be ready for nationals the following week. So, definitely a business trip going up to Oshkosh this weekend.
Really hard to improve when you're just the perennial powerhouse.
There's nowhere else to go.
Yeah.
So they're trying to stay on top of the hill. It's it's been said many times that it's a lot easier to get up to the top of the hill than stay there. And the fact that they've stayed up there this long, trying to do it for a 4th year, definitely says something about not just the talent of the athletes, but the atmosphere of the program as well.
Absolutely. The women's team obviously wants to try and do something as well, and they've got not only individuals, but there's a shot for them to maybe make it as a team too.
Yeah, a good team performance could get them into one of those at-large bids for the championship. It's one of the strongest. In terms of the amount of teams that are nationally ranked, one of the strongest regions in the country. So it's going to take a very strong race. But they've definitely proven against a lot of those teams their ability to compete and beat a lot of them. So it's going to be a matter of, as we saw in the conference meet, those 3rd, 4th, and 5th runners, making sure that gap between the first finishers is as small as it can be.
Last thing I want to get to is your quick hit. And, we've got some interesting ones today, but I want to know, what was your first job?
Oh, it was not interesting. My first paid job, I believe I was 13 years old, and we were in the cornfields detasseling corn.
Oh, boy.
Seed corn for, you have to do that so it can pollinate and do what it needs to do biologically. So that's a lot of long hours spent in the sun, in the middle of the cornfield. But definitely before that, if you grow up on a farm, it's pretty much as soon as you can walk, you're working. So I think I was driving a tractor in the field at the age of 8. I believe, and a whole lot of other things that.
I think I was still in a tiny tyke at that point.
Yeah, the bigger ones are a little harder to drive, but that's a lot of the so-called earning your keep. It doesn't necessarily result in getting paid. I didn't know people got paid for that kind of stuff until I was a little older. So,
oh my goodness.
So yeah, there was pretty much from the beginning. That's where that happened. But yeah, 13 was about the first time I actually brought home a paycheck.
Wow. Sports information, I think, treats you a little bit better, right?
Just a touch. This is a more hospitable environment, which was kind of the goal from the beginning.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, Clark, thanks so much for hopping on. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.
That's it for the show. The Cardinals travel to Decatur to battle with the Big Blue. We'll have the highlights from North Central Millikin following the game. Until next week, I'm Kevin Jackman, and this has been The Red Zone.